Alright, so the pan liner's in. The next step that I do is I put my drywall up, or my concrete board up on the walls. This helps to keep the pan liner pushed back so it won't get in your way or won't move whenever you're putting in your concrete pan. So what I do is, first off, I usually set my cat right here about 1 1/4, maybe 1.5 inches. But I started at 1 1/4 tall. That's how tall up it is. Secondly, I then do my measurements. It needs to be 1/4 inch per foot to the drain. I ended up just knocking it out at like 2 2/4 all the way around, and I draw a line on here. I have a 2 foot or 3 foot leveler that's actually 2 2/4 inch thick, so it's very easy. I just set it down here and then I draw, you with me? There we are. Sharpie line all around here. So I did that all around. This serves two purposes. For whenever I'm putting in the concrete, it gives me a level to start out at, and then also I know that I need to put my concrete board up just above that line. So we'll put the concrete board up now, just above that line. All right, so for the ceiling here, couple things. You measure. They say measure twice, cut once. I measure 5 damn times. I don't care. And for me, I have this light in the middle. So what I do is, first off, I measure lengthways, and I'll do it in I'll do it in multiple areas to make sure that the length's the same. So, you know, from this wall there, I'll do it from this side there. Then you'll do the width also, and I'll just keep on running down each stud and make sure that it's the same. I get even length there. And then for this dude, so this is a 7-inch diameter light bulb. And first thing I do is I basically pick a side. So I'll say, okay, so the back part of my drywall that I cut, I measure from this back part to the center of this, and that ended up being like 29, I think. And then I'll do like, I'll make a note of myself, the right side I'll measure from here to here, and to the center, and then I'll mark that center point on the drywall and then circle around it, make a circle, and then I'll double check it by coming back in here and making sure, you know, even from the right where the light starts and where it stops over on this side. And I'll do that from both sides and make sure that that hole is going to match up. So I'm using Hardy backer concrete fiber board for the ceiling. I'll use straight concrete board for the walls, but so I already cut it to size, and what I do is just measure, mark, make a line, and then use a box knife and cut it. Hardy backer's a lot harder to cut than concrete board is, like Durock concrete board. It's kind of takes a few swipes. So then I measured. I measured out the right, found the center. This found the center. You can see my center mark. And I made my circle. Then whenever I went back and checked the lengths, this lengths are perfect, but this one actually I need to move back some. So I'm going to have to redo a circle. You can see I made little marks of where I'm going to have to move this thing back to and make it a circle there. Alright, I got the hole cut. So now it's time to go in there and see if we got a winner or not. This stuff is tough to cut, this Hardy backer, so I actually use a jigsaw. It works. So I threw it up there, dry fit. It looked perfect. It's just skills. That's just skills. That's all there is to it. So yep. Then I muscled up with one arm and screwed it in with the other. This is light enough to where you can do it with one person, but yeah, your shoulders are gonna be screaming. Which that's good though. That's the whole point. Sweat it. So concrete board, I use Durock, 1/2 inch thick. First thing I do is mark where I need to be cutting at. And I use this because it's really easy to cut. so I like it. I measure this up on that line that I drew, and I take my box knife and I go through, put a decent amount of pressure on it, and then once you get a cut down once or twice through, then it's just bend and break. So a couple cuts with my box knife. You can see just pushing down on it, snapping right down for me. So then once you get there, just come back on the other side and go after this tape here. So come back on the other side and it'll fall right off. Now you maybe left with some jagged edges, so you can just kind of scrape them off a little bit there if you need to. Now it's ready to go. Before I hang this up, another thing I do is, I know this is 3 feet tall that I'm going to be using. So I take a tape measure and I go from this line that I talked about, and I measure up 3 feet, more like 3 1/4, 3 1/8, and I mark on my studs. That way whenever I put this up there, I can just match it up to the lines and screw it in. All you do is just, I take 1 5/8 inch screws and just screw them into the studs. It's very simple. Alright, so I got 2 up here. The only other thing, I put a screw about every, I put 3 or 4 screws on each stud per sheet. And also you want to kind of countersink them a little bit. You don't want them, in too deep to break it, but you want them countersunk. If they're sticking out, then you're going to have drywall problems. Alright, so as you can see, we're moving along. Whee! So now we come over here to this cat. First thing I did again was measure and level out where how tall I want this board to be. Beep. And then you can figure out your cuts around this bad boy. So what I do is I measure from the right side of the wall, measure out. First thing you want to make sure whenever you put your new faucet in, they screw into these cats. So you want to make sure that you leave enough room there. You can cut it bigger, is what I'm trying to say. So I measure out from this wall probably to about right here-ish, and then I measure top down. So I'll measure from this wall there to there, and then measure down. I'll cut about right here, and then down over here. So just measure it out, measure twice, cut once, basically.
You can also use a saw or tool.
As you can see, we are in the last legs here. For the sides, keep in mind that you're going to want to raise them up a little bit because you're going to fill that up, topping that up with brick, with cement. So I go up about 1 inch. That's how tall I make my curb. So patch up these seams. So drywall, of course, you usually use mud and put the drywall tape on. Then mud again. You don't use mud on this because that is porous. You know what I'm talking about. So use thin set. So whip yourself up some thin set. And the other thing you get is some cement board tape. I get this stuff, fiber tape. It's adhesive, so you're going to take it off and you just stick it to the seam, and then you go over it with some thin set. I go over it with the small one. Then I thin it out and smooth it out with a wider one, because you don't want thicker parts here, because then your tile won't lay on there well. So that's where we'll go now.
Making sure you cover the tape. That way it sticks and fill up this area.
And for corners, it's the same song and dance. As even as you can between them. Just like you would drywall.
Just push it in. There you go. You know, your goal is to just really push it into these seams.
Alright, so that's the method to the madness. Nail holes, you know. So, you'll do that all around. You know, this wall, you will do your ceiling. You know, I even have an extra cut right there I gotta do. You'll do every single corner and every little opening, even in your nook. Where cement board meets, you do this. Okay, next step after you get done getting all your boards up, patching with your tape and thin set, last thing you want to do is put a little bit of liquid waterproofing on it. This is Redgaurd. They have a couple different variations, but you want to do this. If you're cheap like me, you look at it and say, man, that thing costs $50 freaking, that sucks. Get over it, just do it. So it gives you a peace of mind. I got my other bathroom done, and this will be enough to get this one done. So I got 2 bathrooms done, $25 a bathroom for that extra peace of mind that you're doing it right. So it's simple, right open. It's like thick, it's like pudding, and you just put it on with a brush. And you're probably gonna need 2, maybe 3 coats. So as you can see with the Redgaurd, it goes on pink and it'll dry red. So you know, every little crevice, you know, every little crack here, you can kind of see how thick it is. Like pudding. So just brush it in, get it in every little crack. You know, especially when you put this tape on, there'll be little seams where the thin set didn't get complete coverage. So you just want to make sure just cover all of it. One more thing that I pert near forgot to mention. So as you can see, moving along. You might want to grab a sanding block, sanding paper, and sand some high spots down if you have some high spots. If you did a good job initially, then you won't have too many, but you know, I see some here or there that I have, so I get a sanding block or sanding paper and just chip away at those to make sure they're smooth for when you put tile up. Alright, so first coat done. You know, you see here you can see why you need 2 coats. You know, you're gonna have some spotchy areas. See right here. Boop, boop. So first coat done. We'll throw a second one on there, and then we'll be ready.